when you look at everything that is going on, the choice in front of us is so clear, and it is so easy to make. It's just, which do you choose, life or death? Life or death? Are you a part of a culture of death or a culture of life? Are you fighting for life in all of its forms, or are you fighting for death in all of its forms? And it's really clear to see which side is which. It really is. Isn't that what God said when the Israelites went into the promised land? Choose life. Isn't that what l'chaim means? L'chaim, to life, l'chaim. I think it is, choose life. I don't know. Everything I learned about Hebrew, I learned from Fiddler on the Roof, but that's a different story. Not exactly true, but almost true. True in this case. Anyway, you have to choose life. And the left is becoming more and more about death in every way. Today, the more enlightened left, the more enlightened they become, the more left the doctrine, the more barbaric it actually becomes. We've seen it on the streets in L.A., right? Look at that. That's not about life. That's about destruction of everything. According to their doctrine, the left believes that the only, that not doing a thing to police illegal immigration is the only solution to compassionate, service. You just can't do anything about it, because that way we're compassionate and we're loving and we're handling the situation, okay? And you can't do anything about it. And if not, well, we're going to prove how compassionate and loving we are through mob violence and arson and theft and assaulting federal officers. It doesn't make any sense. Let alone standing up for the people who have horribly raped 14-year-old children. I don't understand. How are you doing that? How is that choosing life at all? Now, in New York, things are even worse. In the legislature, where the people's representatives have passed a bill to make it easier for people to kill themselves, the U.S. Surgeon General's office calls loneliness and isolation in America an epidemic. How many people do you know that have either killed themselves or have had their children almost kill themselves? I don't think I can count them on two hands. My mother killed herself when I was a child, and she was the only one I had ever heard of doing that, except in TV shows and movies. Now it's an epidemic. Yet New York is choosing to declare open season on anybody vulnerable. This bill is assisted suicide, and it is dressed up, as always, as compassion. But it's not mercy. It is absolute madness. It's now sitting on the governor's desk of New York, Kathy Hochul. It's waiting for her signature to make it law. But this bill is an absolute nightmare. It requires no waiting period after the person's first request to die. So in other words, hey, I've got some bad news for you. You have cancer. And it's probably untreatable. I just want to die. Okay, no waiting period. Nurse, can we bring that in? No waiting period. Somebody who has a terminal diagnosis one day can be handed the lethal cocktail the very next day. Unlike other states that are at least nodding to some health evaluations, no, New York is just going to check, make sure that it's an informed decision. You know what you're saying, right? You want to kill yourself? Yeah, I do. Okay, good. You're informed. When people are staring death and depression in the face, despair and depression clouds everything. You don't make a decision when you're like that. As somebody who has had major depression when I was young, it is insane. It's insanity. And as somebody who is older, who has, this week, my back has been so bad. I went to my doctor and I said, I can't live this way. I can't walk. I could barely breathe. I just can't live this way. Now, I didn't mean I want to kill myself, but I understand how people can get there. I get that. But is that who we are? Is that as a society? Is that who we are? It's crazy. Since when is the left concerned about patients being informed? They don't want a woman who's considering an abortion to see an ultrasound of their baby. I don't know. Is that informed consent? One guy, he's a bioethicist from Washington State. He's tracked these laws now for 40 years. He says the bill in New York is probably the worst law of its kind in the U.S. What a surprise. Their last governor was killing people in nursing homes. The language that is in this bill, the lies are disgusting. They call prescribing poison a, quote, medical practice. And the poison is medication. Now listen to this. It also prohibits referring to this practice as suicide. In the worst part of this bill, and remember, we're talking about killing people, this shows you how they know they're lying. Even when you write out the death certificate of a person who dies through assisted suicide, you are only allowed to list the person's underlying illness or condition as the official cause of death. You cannot say it had anything to do with suicide or any medical aid in dying. So if I have cancer and I'm not going to treat it, I just want to die. If I have depression, I just want to die. I would die of depression or cancer. You know what that does? That hides the actual stats. It hides the crime. You won't be able to track how bad is this getting. They're trying to memory hole suicide, making doctors lie about it. No, helping doctors lie about it. I'm sorry, but if you're a doctor and you are going along with this and you are not standing up, where is your Hippocratic oath? First, do no harm. Are you kidding me? Abortion, you excuse that. Now we're going to get it on the other side. You excuse that. And you don't even have to medically evaluate the person. And then you cover it up. Wow. New York State has been, developing this culture of death since 1970. 3 years before Roe versus Wade, they were doing it. More than half a century of pro-choice messaging. It greased the slippery slope, and we are now at the bottom of it. If, according to the left, the compassionate thing toward a pregnant woman is to allow her to kill her unborn child, that's just a short jump to assisted suicide being considered the compassionate way out for the terminally ill or the mentally ill. After all, it's my body, my choice, right? Dr. Lydia Dugale, she's from Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, New York City. She wrote an op-ed last month, and she said, this is not compassionate policy. Instead of investing in the infrastructure of support for the lonely, the depressed, the disabled, and the poor, we just offer them a prescription for death, and we call it autonomy. But it's nothing but abandonment. The art of dying well cannot be severed from the art of living well, and that includes caring for one another, especially when it's hard, when it's inconvenient or costly. It's not enough to offer the dying control. We have to offer them dignity, and not by affirming their despair, but by affirming their worth. Life is worth it. She went on and said, even when they're suffering, even when they are vulnerable, even when they are, in worldly terms, a burden. To anyone who has common sense left in New York and California, I mean, you seem to be outnumbered by barbarians. It must be an awfully hopeless feeling. I'm glad we can be there for so many of you every day. Just don't give up. Don't give up. You are not without hope as long as you're still in the fight. So, you live in New York? Call your governor's office. Urge her to veto this evil bill of death. Choose life. Do not give up on trying to salvage a culture of life. Because once you do, we're completely done. Choose life.